Hey guys, it's Lauren, and I decided to do the Bookish A to Z hot or not tag. And I didn't really get tagged for it, but I've seen it floating around, and the last video I watched that did the tag was Margaret Bernard, and I liked her video because she actually explained what each of the prompts were, because some of the terminology was like new to me and I didn't know what some of them meant. A is for audiobooks, which is something that I have dived more into. With my vision loss, it's less strain on my eyes than trying to read an ebook. I definitely can't read print anymore. B is a strange word. Bildungsroman. You know what? I'm just gonna show it on the screen because I don't know how to say it. They should have came up with a better name for it. But basically it means the development of a child becoming a child to an adult, or a coming of age story. And I'm gonna say not. I like young adult books, but I think with a coming of age story it's kind of like they kind of go with more of the stereotypical way of a child becoming an adult, and don't try to do a twist or outside the box. Which leads me to C, which is children's books. And I feel like I'm going to copy Margaret's answer. Margaret's answer was no, because it's just not the right audience for it. And a lot of times kind of geared towards the books that you grew up reading as a child. So D is digital, then yes. Because sometimes a lot of books I want to read are not audible, and that's the only way I can get the book. Now E is experimental, and I'm not really sure on the definition of it, but I guess I'll just say meh, because I'm definitely a mood reader, and if I don't know what the genre is, or if I'm uncertain, then it has to be like, you have to twist my arm to get me to read it.
I feel like experimental is probably like someone that is doing like outside the box writing styles for genres. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, and if it's an author that I'm familiar with, or a format of writing that I'm familiar with, then I'd probably give it a shot, but then otherwise, no. F is fantasy! My genre. I love fantasy. I think it's really easy to get sucked into writing and reading a realm outside the norm and making weird and unique characters that you try to fit in that universe. Now, it's funny, in Margaret's video tag that she mentioned the different aspects of fantasy, because there's subgenres of fantasy, like in any genre. Like, I like the elements of epic fantasy, like Lord of the Rings and Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
But the books are really hard for me to read. Like, it's really hard to hold my attention. Yay, the next one is G, graphic novels. Now, I do like the style of graphic novels. I just wish graphic novels and comic books were more accessible. I've found a few graphic novels or comic books that were read on Bard, which is another format to getting free Audible books. And they were really descriptive, but it's not the same feeling as like holding it in your hand and being drawn in by the artwork. Next one, horror. I do not like horror, because I get scared too easily. I definitely don't like body horror.
I notice.
Getting all crawly just thinking of it.
Dude, you only liked it when they had to zoom up body.
Like, I like Goosebumps. Does that count?
Sure.
That's the exception?
That's like child's version of horror.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. That's the exception. I is inspirational. And I'll say yes to this because I see inspirational in the same lane as poetry. Because poetry can be inspiring. J is journalism, and definitely nope. The next one is a new one for me. It's Kitsch, and it's basically something that's popular or highly focused interest. Now, I think I'm going to be in the middle because I think it depends on the hobby that it's focused on. I probably would enjoy it. Like, I know in Phantom of the Opera, there's like a whole chapter about architect and design, and that definitely intrigued me. So the next one is library, and it's using the resources at your local library to get more books, which I'm all for. Our sister told us about the app called Libby, and apparently through there you can get ebooks and audiobooks, and I thought it was just ebooks, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. The next one is mystery, and these never intrigue me. I think it's a mystery tied in another genre, like paranormal or thriller, or even like light horror. I probably like it, or suspense, but I don't like mystery by itself. I think I don't like it being foreshadowed or like red herring, because then I get really mad.
Now, see, for me, mysteries are just not challenging. I figure out between the first chapter of the book, I'm just bored the rest of the time. So I did that, not being a fan of them.
The next one is nonfiction, and I think I'm going to be in the middle again, because the few nonfiction books that I've read, I have enjoyed, but I've noticed it's not a genre that I seek out to read. And I get really mad when people try to say poetry is nonfiction, because poetry can be inspired by fantasy, or sci-fi, or any other fiction genre. So O is another new one for me, and it's another terminology to explain things I like to read, and it's Omnibus. So it's a collection of different stories or different types of medias thrown together. So, like, if you're reading an entire collection of works by an author or an anthology, they would both count. The next one is another favorite, is poetry.
Woo!
Yeah, I was like, yeah, poetry! Anybody that's familiar with the channel knows that me and Nicole are both fans of reading and writing poetry. The next one is quests, and another one where I'm not sure. Like, I like the stories of King Arthur. So would that count or no?
Yes, because of that, his idea is trying to find the quests for the Sword in the Stone and the Sword in the Water, and his knights trying to find Holy Grail. So I can see that as a quest.
Okay. And I like books that are similar to like Dungeons and Dragons. So that's a quest. So yeah. The next one is romance. So I don't particularly like reading romance by itself, but I do like it when it's a sub-genre in other books. So romantasy, paranormal romance, things like that. The next one is science fiction, and I just can't get into it. The next one is translations, and again, it's not something that I seek out. So I think a lot of times there will be fables or collections of stories that I like from another language. And sometimes trying to find a translation into English for them are tricky. But I definitely appreciate somebody taking the time to translate it into English.
I feel like for me, for that, I did annoy sometimes translations because of that, depending on when the translation was occurred, sometimes religious aspects change the story, which is kind of annoying because you just want the original story.
Another terminology I've never heard of before that I'll probably butcher. Übermensch? Looks close enough. But it means a superhero or godlike entity in a story. And I don't mind if a character is really powerful, as long as they use that power in a unique way, or the plot, basically like their high power isn't like what ends up saving the day. Like they have another plot device thrown in there. So the next one is Victorian, and definitely nope. The next one is Western, and also nope. So the next one is X-rated, which I feel like would fall under books that are under the genre for erotica. I will admit they're my guilty pleasure. I feel like the popular thing now is especially for romantasy, so romance fantasy books, that they have to be filled with sexual content. And yeah, I'm all for it. It doesn't bother me. The next one is young adult, and like fantasy is another genre that I read a lot of. So the last one is Zeitgeist, which means something that's heavily spiritual, and I'm gonna say nope, because that's not something that I would typically read. I think if it's mentioned in a book and it's not the main focus, like with romance, then I might be inclined to give it a try. This was a lot of fun. I wasn't sure if I was gonna have answers for somebody because, like I said, I'm a mood reader, so I read when the mood strikes or when I see a book circulating enough on Book Talk and I want to give it a shot. So I wouldn't consider myself a avid reader, but this was a lot of fun, and it definitely gave me some areas to look more into to broaden my reading aspects. So I have to do more of these tags, and as always, find a way to be creative today. And if you feel inclined to do this video, give it a shot.